Hello and welcome to Rally Cycling's coverage of Stage 3 of the Digital Swiss 5 Virtual Racing Series. Today we're heading back into the Swiss Alps on a 33-kilometer route that is finishing on top of the Nufenen Pass, the highest paved road in all of Switzerland. I'm your host, Tom Soladay, and joining me today from his home in northern Vancouver, British Columbia, is Ryan Anderson. How you doing, brother?
Hey guys, good, doing good.
Hey, so for those that don't know, Ryan, your first stint on the team was actually back in 2009. We recently did a throwback to Scott Zuzanski's win down in Uruguay, and then lo and behold, we're looking through the gallery. There you are. So why don't you tell us maybe about the early days of the program and how you found your way back after stepping away for a year or two?
Yeah, I mean that was pretty cool. I saw that post. I was looking through for the photos that I had too. Yeah, I think the program was young then. Obviously, it was pretty maybe second year in. Um, so just to watch the group grow. But I guess for my thing then is, um, yeah, it was a lot smaller organization. So I'd work with Jonas as I still do, a lot closer maybe. And it was just him really, and Charles. Um, I think it was just getting an idea of all the people in the organization were always good. It always had like that, that family feel away from home. Yeah, so that's what essentially ended up bringing me back.
Yeah.
I was missing that at one point.
Yeah. So before we jump into your setup, what you have going on at your house right now, I wanted to ask. You had a pretty tough leg break this past off season. This is actually your first race back. So why don't you tell us maybe about what that challenge has been like, what's been going on the last few months, and just where your head's at, where your body's at for today's race.
Yeah, I think for me, it was the biggest injury of my career by far. So there was lots of new things to learn and lots of new emotions to go through. Kind of was, I had all these goals and targets within the team too to come back for and stuff like that. So then all of these other things happen. But now I'm just kind of taking a step back and making sure that I'm as healthy and strong as possible. And for me, honestly, I get more time to deal with everything now. So, because of course, as recovery goes, you hope everything goes perfectly, but it didn't go perfectly. So there was a few setbacks along the way, but we're getting there.
Awesome. That's great to hear, man. Well, let's move back into the present. Right now, you're at home. You're racing virtually. So why don't you run us through what devices do you have set up? What programs are running? Do you have a fan? Just let the folks know at home what it takes to do what you're doing.
Yeah, so I got a fan go. I got the fan going.
Yeah.
I got the app load up on the laptop computer in front of me. I got you on the cell phone.
Yeah.
And I'm using a Elite Trainer, which has been my trusty comeback tool. And I got Cliff in the water bottle.
Yep.
Just one water bottle today, though. I'm gonna.
Yeah.
Guys. And then this morning I loaded up the legs with the Amp Lotion.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I'm going to let you go so you can focus on your final recovery, get your food and your water in. So why don't you go ahead and mute me on Skype, and hopefully we can catch back up with you once the race is concluded.
Okay. Talk soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Randy. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the Stage 3 of the Digital Swiss 5. If you're just coming in, Ryan Anderson is live from his basement in northern Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. We are going to check in with Team Director Pat McCarty over Race Radio. We've done it the last few days. It's been a really nice to check in with Pat, see how the guys are doing, how they're looking, and just get his perspective because his role as a director has changed. So let's take a look at, or actually take a listen with Pat McCarty. Hey, Pat, do I have you?
Whoops, sorry, Tom. Yep, I'm here. Was on mute. How's it going?
Awesome. Yeah, there's so many programs open right now. It's hard to keep track of what's on mute and what isn't. So how are the guys looking? Was there any troubleshooting to be done this morning?
Yeah, a little bit. Well, not much. I would say not really with our software, the hardware that is the bikes. Nate is some of you know he did stage one and had a little mishap with about 5K to go. He was out of the saddle, full gas going up the climb, and I guess something tweaked in the trainer, and the chain went over the top of the cassette and just destroyed the drivetrain. So we had luckily had our wear.
I think I may have lost you here, Pat.
My microphone muted on its own. Sorry about
Oh,
that.
there you go. You're back. Yep.
Anyways, we're yep. Yeah, I really don't know what's going on. My thing keeps muting on its own. Sorry, Tom.
No, it's all good, Pat. These things are gonna happen. This is a new type of broadcast that we're doing. So if we lose you again, we'll step back. We'll jump into the race that starts here in about 3.5 minutes.
Hey, Nate, I know you keep muting me on your end, but I actually do need to talk to Tom and do interviews and stuff. So you need to just, if you need to just turn me down, do that, please. I see you keep muting me.
Yeah, Pat, I think what our voice channel is actually muting us. I just saw I had to take it off again, but we
Yeah,
rolled.
I actually think Nate, it said on my screen, Nate was muting me. So I think he was hearing me talk and maybe hitting the mute button or something like that. But yeah, I don't know where I got lost. But anyways, boys are all ready to go. Nate's got his equipment back up and running. Guys are connected. I see Randy on the screen there. So I think we got 3 minutes here.
Yep, 3 minutes. For those who are just joining us, this is live broadcast coverage from Rally Cycling on stage 3 of the Digital Swiss 5. We've headed back into the mountains and we're finishing atop Nufenen Pass. It's a 33-kilometer route, the same route, or shortened, but the same finish that the team raced in the 2019 Tour de Suisse. Pat, I wanted to, other than getting all the guys connected for today, I just wanted to see from a director's perspective what you think about the riders' performances over the last 2 days. Gavin, 15th, and then we had Matteo, Stephen Bassett in 5th and 6th yesterday, and Nick Sukowski, I believe it was, in 14th. So are they exceeding expectations, or are they meeting them?
Well, I'd say, well, it depends on how you want to look at it. I'd say they're exceeding expectations. I mean, the guys are, I know that they're all talented riders. I know what they're all capable of. So I don't want to say that they're totally riding out of their skin. I think what we're seeing is just our guys being prepared, being relaxed, being on a very, very positive team and a positive environment right now with a lot of support given what we're all dealing with in inside the sport and outside of the sport. And they're relaxed, they're ready to go, and they're taking this seriously and making the most of it. So I think that's what we're seeing. Obviously, yesterday, Teo getting 5th in the race was just impressive. But we also know he's a talented bike rider, very, very strong rider. So
absolutely,
it's just for me. I don't know if it's a surprise. It's just very pleasing to see the guys making the most of these digital races.
Oh, that's awesome. It's great to hear your perspective on that. You know, I think we can all agree, everyone watching at home and everyone on the team, that we're certainly inspired by their performance. It's really great to see that they've been working so hard during a tough time where we're all spending so much time indoors. Well, I'm going to go shoot over to the start line, Pat. It's great to talk to you, and we'll catch back up once the riders get settled into today's stage.
Yeah, sounds good. Looks like we have less than a minute to go. Good luck to everybody today, and we'll talk to you in a few, Tom.
All right. Thanks, Pat. All right, everyone. If you have any questions for me, for Pat, maybe even the riders, we've been staying in contact quite a bit. Just fire them into the comments section. Give us a like. If you're not following us, follow us along. We don't want you to miss on any other great content like this over the coming weeks. But we're in the final seconds before the start of stage 3. Our roster for the day is Ryan Anderson, who we opened the broadcast with, Gavin Mannion, who was top 15 on stage 1, and Nate Brown is returning after his mechanical from the stage 1 of the Digital Swiss 5. So we're off and running. We're going to take a look at the start of the race, we're going to stay with Nate Brown here, who it's his first year racing on the team for the World Tour. We're currently not seeing the avatars. Typically, there's an avatar representing every rider on the road, so it looks like we're just in this single view. So we're going to go to the overhead to see where the riders are out on course. We can see that Nate Brown has started very strong, currently 9 watts per kilogram. We're not used to seeing that kind of wattage unless someone's coming into a sprint finish. So Nate Brown is extremely motivated, just behind podium finisher from ahead. Nate Brown is actually leading the race ahead of his teammate from last year, James Whelan from EF Pro Cycling. We're going to go ahead and jump back in to see if we can see the live footage from the road, if the avatars are back with us. Nate Brown is leading the race, so let's go ahead and see where the riders are in the standings. All right, looks like James Whelan and Nate Brown are actually shoulder to shoulder right now at the head of affairs. We've got the Russian Ilnur Zakarin from Team CCC in 5th, the U.S. resident, Texas native, Lawson Craddock from EF Pro Cycling in 6th. And then I believe it was 2014 World Road Racing Champion and Milan-San Remo Champion, Michael Kwiatkowski from Team Ineos, just moving into 9th. Let's take a look at where the rest of our riders for the day are. Gavin Mannion, who is 15th, started slow on stage 1, really made his way through the peloton. An impressive final sprint along the barriers to win the sprint for 15th. There's a car out on course. No one has come to grief. That is excellent news. So we're finally have the avatars within the Ruvi platform. Every rider's speed is based on watts per kilogram. So it all comes down to how many watts are you putting out based on how much you weigh and your bike weighs. Every rider's been weighing themselves, sending it into the race organizers. The team staff is sending in their bicycle weights. So it's really, really dialed. It's a pretty important one. Of course, we're weighing the bikes without water bottles on it, in case you want to know. So let's run through not only our lineup, which is Ryan Anderson, Nate Brown, Gavin Mannion, but also it's the who's who of the World Tour, the best cyclists in the world that they're lining up against today. So we've already spoken about Michael Kwiatkowski, who's riding his way into the top 10, former Milan-San Remo champion for Team Ineos. Last year's Vuelta a España, the defending champion Primoz Roglic from Team Jumbo-Visma is here. And then also multi-time Grand Tour stage-winning duo, their brothers for the Michelin Scott team, Adam and Simon Yates, are here. So Gavin Mannion is settling in. He's in about 22nd place, averaging just over 6 watts per kilogram. This is a very strong start for Gavin, who is currently competing out of Colorado. So there's a little bit of a deficit. Some of the other World Tour riders in Andorra are in similar circumstances where they're just not able to get as much oxygen. But this is a very strong start for Gavin, who knows that at altitude he really needs to start off moderately so that he can get to the end of the race and finish strong. Randy Stephen Bassett is in the chat, who had an incredible ride, nearly caught Matteo Dalcin on stage 2 to finish 6th. He just wants to know if you need a bottle. Go ahead and blink, Randy. Randy is actually a jack of all trades. He's good at climbing, sprinting, leadouts. If you need bottles, Randy's your guy. Again, I'm Tom Soladay. This is a rally cycling broadcast of Stage 3 from the Digital Swiss 5. We opened our broadcast with Ryan Anderson, who is in his first race of any kind since he broke his leg in the offseason this past year. It's really, really great to see Randy back in action. Let's see where Nate Brown and Randy, as we call him, let's see where they are in the peloton. Gavin Mannion again starting strong in 22nd. Nate Brown still looking incredible in 3rd behind his former teammate James Whelan, and late substitution for AG2R La Mondiale, Pierre Latour, is well over 7 watts per kilogram. Nate Brown looking good, looking comfortable. He's recovered well from his stage 1 mechanical, stage-ending mechanical on stage 1 of the Digital Swiss 5. Nate is cruising along at 5 watts per kilogram. It's actually good to see that he is out doing what is a sustainable power output for him for an hour-long race. He's back above 6 watts per kilogram. The riders in the World Tour peloton are competing on the Ruvi platform. It's something that's a little better known in Europe. There is no drafting, so these races turn largely into a bit of a time trial, although the riders say that the automatic resistance through their smart trainers is quite realistic, so when they do hit a gradient, you're always going to see the watts per kilogram kick up because the trainers are automatically adding added resistance. So believe it or not, they may be on stationary trainers, but it does feel like they are going uphill. Earlier in the broadcast, Randy actually mentioned, like, what was he doing for his warm-up? He not only had a bottle on his bike and he's got a fan going, but he's wearing the lightest weight clothing that he gets from Pack Team, our clothing sponsor out of Colorado. Looking fly in orange indoors. Even opted for a cycling cap. It's the first rally cycling rider that we have seen this week wearing a cap indoors. But when he mentioned the Amp Human, you may not be familiar with it. It's a lotion that you put on your legs. It helps buffer lactic acid. It helps you go longer and deeper, especially in these short, explosive efforts. They've been a long-time partner of the team, and have been really fortunate to have them. They even sent over a really nice commercial of theirs for those who aren't familiar with it. So we're going to take you to that and then head right back to the action with Nate Brown, who's currently sitting in 4th, hovering around 6 watts per kilogram, just behind former leaders of the Vuelta a España, Nicolas Roche for Team Sunweb. So let's go ahead and take a look. You can learn a little more about Amp Human. Good stuff. Thanks for everyone over at AMP for putting that together for us. Nate Brown is currently in 4th, just a hair off the podium, about 300 feet behind former Vuelta a España leader Nicolas Roche for Team Sunweb. Let's go ahead and take a look at where Gavin Mannion, who was 15th on stage 1, let's see how he's stacking up. Gavin started out a little stronger than stage 1, starting around 22nd place on the race. Let's see where he is sitting right now. So Gavin Mannion's currently in 27th place, riding at about 5 to 6 watts per kilogram, just around Matthias Frank and Pernsteiner from Bora Hansgrohe. Looking great, just about mid-pack. Let's go ahead and take that aerial view so you can get an idea of where they are. Again, this is a 33-kilometer race. We're heading back into the Swiss Alps with a hilltop finish, mountaintop finish at Nufenen Pass, the highest paved road in all of Switzerland. So that's Gavin on the, this is just the lower slopes. We have very little downhill. If you can see the profile at the bottom of the screen, we're just slowly, gradually going up the entire stage. Gavin Mannion is still averaging about 6 watts per kilogram for today's stage. He's currently in 30th place. And then returning from injury, a really bad leg break this offseason, Ryan Anderson's in his first race back of any kind. Ryan, you can see him in the video at the bottom of the screen. He joined us at the beginning of the broadcast from his home in northern Vancouver, British Columbia. So let's go ahead and see if we can find Ryan. Here Ryan is, just settling in nicely. Just behind Jonathan Castroviejo, time trial specialist, formerly of Team Movistar, and now currently a top lieutenant on the one of the best teams in the world, Team Ineos. So Ryan is just slowly getting past. by a little four-door Mercedes. Great. They left plenty of room for Ryan there. Thank you very much. Let's go ahead and go back to the front of affairs. Let's see who's leading this race. How are we stacking up? So currently, Pierre Latour, as we mentioned at the top of the broadcast, Pierre was a last-minute replacement for AG2R La Mondiale. The Frenchman is built out a very strong early lead, very talented climber, still at around 8 watts per kilogram, and we're just getting started. Remember those numbers, 7, 8 watts per kilogram. Let's see if Pierre can maintain that all the way to the finish. James Whelan, a podium finisher for EF Pro Cycling on stage 1, is currently in second. Nicolas Roche is now a former leader of the Vuelta a España for Team Sunweb. The Irishman is solidly in third. And not too far behind him is 2014 World Road Racing Champion in a huge gear for Team Ineos, Mikhail Kwiatkowski. Nate Brown, who blasted out of the gates for rally cycling. You can see that he is extremely motivated after his race-ending mechanical on stage 1. Believe it. It happens, even in the virtual realm. Nate Brown is currently in 7th place, averaging about 6 watts per kilogram, ahead of Matteo Badalati from Israeli Cycling Academy. And then you have the Swiss rider Sylvain Dillier. Many of you would remember him from his exploits off the front at Paris-Roubaix a few years ago, finishing a very close 2nd place. Remember the folks that we've got the chat. I can see our sprinter, Tide Magner, Emerson Arante, who led our Healthy Habits Challenge this week. We'll show you a little more about that a little later in the broadcast. Pat McCarty is our team director. We checked in with him on race radio earlier in the broadcast. We're going to go check back with him in just a couple minutes just to see how the guys are doing and his impressions on the stage and predictions for the finish atop the highest paved road in all of Switzerland, the Nufenen Pass, at the end of this 33-kilometer stage 3 of the Digital Swiss 5. Now we can see that JJ Rojas, former sprinter extraordinaire and now incredible team captain on Team Movistar, is just closing the gap to Nate Brown. They round out the top 10 on the road. We're going to check in with Gavin Mannion, who was with us on our Stage 1 broadcast. Had a really impressive ride to finish 15th on Stage 1. If you're looking at the screen, the American flag looks a lot like the Texas flag. So there's Ben King, formerly of Kelly Benefit Strategies, years ago won the U.S. Professional Road Race Championships before he moved on to Team Radio Shack. Terribly nice guy. He's a double stage winner at the Vuelta a España. Still a really great relationship with the team. He's a good kid. It's good to see that he's doing so well at the sport's top level. Gavin Mannion, still that magic number for him. It's 6 watts per kilogram. He's doing a really, really great job. We actually had Gavin check in with us. He sent a little video from his home in Fort Collins, Colorado, just as a thank you for everyone who tuned in Stage 1, Stage 2, and even today. And he has just a nice little message for you about today's stage. So let's go ahead and take a listen to Gavin.
Hey guys, just wanted to thank everyone for following along and for watching Stage 3 of the Tour de Suisse. Looks like it's going to be a good one today, up to Nufenen Pass. Had the chance to race this one last year and it was pretty brutal, so we'll see how the augmented reality version is. Thanks again.
Awesome. Thanks for the nice words, the further background information. Gavin was one of our top riders at the Tour de Suisse along with Rob Britton last year. We're sad to not be racing on the actual roads in Switzerland, but this is an excellent replacement for the time being. We're all having to adapt, and it's just great that we're able to give the riders, the fans, and all of our partners something to cheer for, something to watch, something to get excited for. So please drop us a like, leave us any comments. Chris Hobbs has asked if there's any drafting in Ruvi. Great question, Chris. There's no drafting on the Ruvi platform. In the US, we're largely familiar with Zwift. They do have an algorithm to calculate draft, but in Ruvi, this is all based on watts per kilogram. The Matteo, who finished 5th overall ahead of the best riders in the world yesterday, Matteo must be maybe 6'4" tall, and the Ruby platform does not take into your height or your draft. It's all about your watts per kilogram. So great question, Chris. Thank you very much for joining us today. We're going to see where, let's go back to the front of the race. Let's see how Nate Brown is faring. He blasted out of the gates, was briefly leading. He was 9th last time we were with him. We're going to go to the front of the affairs. Pierre Latour, like we said earlier, he was 8 to 9 watts per kilogram. He is now settling into something that's probably more typical for a 1 hour effort, right around 7 watts per kilogram. Our very own Nate Brown has, I believe, dropped out of the top 10 only slightly. There's a nice little group of riders that's forming here with Nate Brown and ahead of him. Let's see. John Soladay, believe it or not, yes, that is my dad. Thanks for joining us today, Dad. The event does not adjust for altitude as far as where the riders are, where they're living physically, but when it comes to racing on the platform, it adjusts for the percentage gradient of the road. We mentioned earlier in the broadcast that all of the riders are on smart trainers. They're connected to Ruby, and every time that they go up a gradient and the gradient changes, the resistance on their trainer changes. So they actually go through their entire cassette. The riders were telling me the other day they were even using their easiest 33 cassette in the gear or cog in the back while in their small ring. And that is the only way that Ruby is currently adjusting for any kind of altitude or changing gradient. It's just by increasing and decreasing the radius. There is no drafting, but when the riders, I think, eclipse about 74 kilometers an hour on downhills, they are able to coast. Unfortunately for them, as you can see in the profile on the bottom of the screen, there's not much in the way of downhills. They will not be coasting at any point in this stage. Nate Brown has moved back up into 11th, not far from Badalati from Israeli Cycling Academy or Israeli Cycling Nation, who's just rounding out the top 10. Nate Brown is just by, has spent a lot of time in Texas. He's by his former teammate Lawson Craddock from EF Pro Cycling. They are yo-yoing back and forth between 11th and 12th. I would not be surprised if they were, or their counterparts were sharing messages between their two households. Let's go ahead and drop back through the peloton. Let's see where the rest of the rally cycling riders are. Again, Ben King, multi-time Grand Tour stage winner, former alum of the team, won the U.S. Professional Road Championships. Really incredible talent. It's great that he's doing so well. Sepp Kuss, again, he won a stage of the Vuelta. It's been very kind to riders on our team. I believe maybe 3 riders that have come through our program have gone on to win Grand Tour stages. So it's good to see Sepp Kuss on Jumbo Visma riding so well. He started a little more modestly compared to stage 1, where he really blasted out of the gates in the top 10. So let's come down here to, here's Ryan Anderson. We started with Ryan at the top of the broadcast. Really inspirational story that Ryan has. He overcame a really bad leg break this off-season. This is his first race of any kind back. It's just a terribly nice guy. Ryan's been on the team 3 different times. He first joined the team in 2009, went on to race full-time in Europe, came back for a couple years. While we were Optum, went back to race a Grand Tour and race Paris-Roubaix on team Total Direct Energy, who just came into the frame. Grelier, they're probably quite familiar with each other. And so we've got Ryan right here, or Randy, as we like to refer to him as. We will hopefully catch up with Randy once the race is over. But he's currently working hard. He's opted for the cycling cap and to keep his jersey on, where a lot of riders you'll find just have a lot of towels set up on their bikes and they strip down to their base layers, because one of the most challenging things, other than a top-end sustained hour-long effort, is actually just avoiding overheating. Matteo Dalcin, who the former Canadian road champion, who finished 5th on stage 2, is a really incredible ride ahead of his teammate Stephen Bassett and Zukowski, also coming in strong in about 14th. He mentioned that you go so deep riding these events, it's a full maximum effort. He said a personal best of close to 440 watts for nearly an hour yesterday. He said you go so deep, and even if you have the fan and the AC going and you're just riding in your base layer, it's really hard not to overheat by the end of the event. And so that these efforts are so taxing, Ruvi, Vilon, and the Tour de Suisse have done a really great job of allowing the rosters to rotate from day to day so that when a rider shows up, they can give their full maximum effort and give you everything that they have. I see Matteo himself has actually cheering on his teammates, really encouraging them. It's a really positive environment that Jonas Carney, Pat McCarty, Charles, Aaron, everyone involved in the team have built here. It's a really positive, supportive culture. Everyone's cheering each other on. Ryan Anderson actually has his dog's name is Baden and has his own Instagram account. And Matteo is hoping that we get to take a look and meet the little guy on the live coverage later on. Let's go ahead and learn a little more about our roster today. Gavin Mannion, you saw him. He checked in with the team earlier on. We're going to find Nate Brown on the road because he also took the time out of his busy schedule at home and sent a nice little note to everyone who's tuning in from home. Gavin Mannion now back in 11th, charging on the top 10 overall right now. Looking great on these beautiful roads. Again, if you're joining us for a broadcast, this is stage 3 of the Digital Swiss 5, a 33-kilometer stage, finishing atop the highest paved road at over 8,000 feet in elevation, the Nufenen Pass in Switzerland. So Nate Brown, from his home in Tennessee, had a really nice message for you folks. So if you have any other questions for Pat McCarty, our team director, we're going to check in with him. Any questions for me? Anything you want to communicate to the fans, the friends, the family that we have online, please drop it in the comments. Give us a like. We have half our rosters down there. Half our staff members are down there. Just go ahead and pick their brains, cheer on your favorite rider. If you have any predictions, drop them in the comments, and I'll do my best to get to them. But here is Nate Brown from his home in Tennessee with a nice special message for you folks.
What's up, rally fans? Nate Brown here. We're day 3 of the Digital Swiss series. The boys really, made us proud yesterday. Hopefully we can do the same. We got Ryan Anderson coming out today. His first race of the year after a gnarly injury in the off season, and excited to be out there with him, even if it's digitally. And we got Gavin too, so hopefully we'll make you guys proud. I just want to thank you guys for tuning in. I know it's a bit weird watching us on trainers, but it still means a lot to us that we have the fans through all this. Stay safe, and thanks, guys.
Awesome, Nate. Thanks for taking the time. The worldwide situation with the coronavirus, the season being postponed, the riders, the staff, all of our team members, the entire world, we've had to really readjust the way we live, the way we do business, the way we interact. And there's no better example than the broadcast that's from all of our riders' homes, riders around the world, race organizers, governing bodies. There's a lot that goes into bringing a broadcast like this. And what you see from Nate, from Ryan, from Gavin, from all the riders and the staff members, everyone's had to readjust the way they live their lives. We're spending a lot more time at home, and we're just trying to make the most of it, encourage people to make healthier decisions, support others by first taking care of themselves and creating healthy habits. And that brings me up to our next spotlight, which is Emerson Arante led week number 5 of our Healthy Habits Challenge, which is all about encouraging people to rediscover the joy in their lives. It's titled Fill the Well. Let Emerson take you through what that means to him.
Tone it down just slightly. Improvise. It says right there. I sound like your uncle on Facebook. I want you to ask yourself, what is something in your life that you can invest in that will bring you joy? Welcome to week number 5 of the Healthy Habits Challenge. I'm Emerson Arante, and I'm excited to announce this week's Fill the Well theme. This challenge isn't about adding another thing to your to-do list or trying to create a new hobby. It's about rediscovering a passion or revisiting a project you simply haven't made time for. Maybe now's a chance to work on that poker face. Full. No. All in. No. Full. Wait, no. Maybe you like doing puzzles to relax. Time to see your inner Picasso. This is definitely some of my best work. Sometimes the best thing you can do is just relax. In all honesty, it doesn't really matter what it is. What matters is that it's your thing and that it replenishes you. To take part in this week's challenge, simply share a photo or a video of how you are filling the well. Stay happy, stay healthy. Thank you for being a fan of rally cycling. That's all I got. We're done. That's good. All in. No. Yes.
All right, good stuff. Special shout out to Sarah Poitevin, our longtime rider, I believe, came on board the same year that Rally Health did in 2016. She is the mastermind and came up with that incredible campaign about encouraging people to make healthier choices in their daily lives, just one simple, small step at a time. Thank you, everyone who's joining us online for Stage 3 of the Digital Swiss 5. And all of the comments, doing our best to stay on top of them. Team Performance Director Jonas Carney, who's been with the team since the beginning, since 2017, is in the chat, actually wishing happy birthday to Pierre-Andre Cote. I believe, PA, I think you turned 23 today. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. And then our former rider, Charles Bradley Huff, the Huffster, Huffy USA, is also there. Longtime teammate of many of the guys that you see on the platform, especially Ryan Anderson and also myself. Huffy, it's great to have you join us for our broadcast today. Let's go ahead and jump to the front of the race, and then we're going to tune in to the race radio with team director Pat McCarty to just get the lowdown of what's going on in the event and his predictions for the rest of the stage. Oh, yeah, so the leader, Pierre Latour, is just over halfway. Let's go ahead and say hi to Pat. Hey there, Pat. Do I still have you?
Yep. How's it going, Tom?
Awesome, man. It's really great. So I see Randy is definitely settling into his first race in a very long time. We're really proud of him for making it out and you guys giving him opportunity to really just cut loose for an hour-long race. But I wanted to check in with you to see what you think of the stage so far. I see Pierre Latour from AG2R has built out quite a lead.
Yeah, so far so good. Poor Randy there, we kind of threw him in the deep end first race back into maybe the hardest mountain stage this week for the Swiss Digital 5, but he's doing a good job. He's got a good spirit and making the most of it. So
sure,
that's all we ask of these guys. Let's see here. Scrolling back up through, Gavin's doing good. I think what Gavin's doing is really waiting for the steep slopes of the climb. The thing, because Gavin's he's at 5,000 feet altitude. The last thing you want to do is go into the red, go over your limit. You just don't recover the same at altitude. So not to say that he isn't pushing good watts for being at 5,000 feet. He's doing a great job, but I'm sure he's just keeping it between the ditches, keeping it out of the red zone right now. And once you get to the steeper slopes, we'll see. But I think Gavin's place on the road could improve. Sure. I definitely like Nate's strategy to just smash it hard right out of the gates.
Yeah, Nate.
A little bit of entertainment for everybody. Sacrifice himself, but I think that was a nice move.
Yeah, well, he's only a few hundred feet behind the Vuelta winner and Primoz Roglic from Jumbo Visma. So he shot out at the gates, but he hasn't completely blown up yet.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah.
I think the real race for Nate is actually against Lawson Craddock, another guy. They're both in or at least near Austin, Texas right now. So I see Gavin is they were all these three guys, Nate, Gavin, and Lawson were all roommates in Austin, Texas some years ago. So I know there's always a little competition between those guys going on. But no, Nate's doing a great job. He's moved back a little bit, but I'm guessing he's trying to take a little recovery while also keeping a pretty good position, take a little recovery from his full-on sprint out of the gates.
Yep.
But so far so good.
Awesome. Yeah, so did you, I know Jonas Carney and our managing director, Charles Aaron, were at the Tour de Suisse last year. Were you there last summer, or were you directing at another race?
No, I actually had an accident on my mountain bike. I was supposed to be there, but I was a little bit broken and busted, so I was not able to go to the Tour de Suisse last June.
Okay, great. Well, no doubt you would have followed online, seen all the race footage in the galleries. Gavin told us ahead of the stage in the video that we showed earlier in the broadcast that this was actually a pass, the highest paved road in all of Switzerland that they're going to finish atop. So it's certainly, we look forward to the beautiful views as we're all spending more time inside. Just looking forward to, if you're fortunate enough to get outside and enjoy some fresh air while maintaining social distancing, we encourage everyone to do that. But this is certainly a treat that there are not many better places in the world to ride your bike on such a beautiful, beautiful day of weather here. So, Pat, what do you anticipate? Are most of the riders pretty settled in? We saw Stephen Bassett, for example, started really slow yesterday and then stormed through the peloton to finish 6th. So, do you predict anything like that, or with the nature of the course, is there a little less of that going to be happening today?
Yeah, it's really hard to say. Just kind of looking where guys are at and where they've started. I think, you see some really talented. I'm just kind of curious where Pierre Latour went. Nicolas Roche is now leading the race. I don't see.
Maybe he had a mechanical.
Latour. I wonder if he had
just like Nate Brown on stage 1.
Nate style. Yeah, it's too bad he was having a good ride. But yeah, that's the nature of this. All of a sudden, somebody just disappears on their leaderboard, and you just don't really know. So, given kind of the unknown nature of some of this stuff, it's hard to tell exactly where guys are at. I'm not really talking to the riders or asking them how they're doing. I know they're just riding hard, gauging their efforts. As you can see, the first riders in the race are just now starting the really steep slopes of the pass. And it's a long, difficult climb. So again, I know that Gavin, he's going to be very, very measured with his efforts, being at altitude, and he'll save probably his biggest push for the latter half of this climb. So I think we'll see Gavin move up. Nate, he made a massive effort at the beginning. For me, it was kind of entertaining to see him do that. But whether he totally put himself in the hole and we're just going to see him kind of slip further and further back, it's hard to say. Randy's just doing a good job, doing everything he can. Obviously, this isn't a great stage for him, even at 100% race fitness, not coming off an injury. So
yeah. Hey, well, quick update on the overall race situation. As team director Pat McCarty, who we have on the line right now, pointed out that Pierre Latour, the Frenchman from AG2R La Mondiale, a last-minute replacement on their roster, shot out the gates with a really solid gap. He's now disappeared from the front of the race. The camera motorbike did not catch the mechanical that he must have suffered. So Irishman Nicolas Roche has taken over the front. Latour's teammate. This is, after all, a team sport. You just want to see someone in your jersey cross that line as high up in the standings as it can. Former U.S. Pro road race champion Larry Warbasse is in second, and former world champion Mikhail Kwiatkowski rounding out the podium, with Russian Ilnur Zakarin following closely behind in 4th place. We're going to drop down to see where our very own Nate Brown is. As team director Pat McCarty pointed out, Nate shot out of the gates, no doubt trying to make up for the mechanical that he had on stage 1, and spurred on by his teammates' performance yesterday on the relatively flat stage 2 of the Digital Swiss 5, where Matteo Dalcin finished an incredible 5th. Stephen Bassett hot on his heels. It was really funny to talk to the riders after the stage. Matteo was desperately trying to stay away from Stephen Bassett and from getting caught. And Bassett said that he was just motivated by seeing the Canadian wattage cottage up the road, just trying to catch his teammate. So it was all in good fun. Even virtually, they're still getting along, enjoying themselves. I see Nicolas Zukowski. He's had strong representation in our chat during this live broadcast every day. So thank you, everyone, for coming on out. Pat, so do you have any predictions for the stage? I know we can't underestimate any of our riders. They've really, really stepped up and surpassed our expectations. But before I let you go, until we check in, a little closer to the finish, what are your thoughts?
Well, I see Roglic is less than a kilometer. He's about 700 meters. Actually, no, that's not true. Sorry. Yeah, he's about 700, 800 meters behind Nicolas Roche. I'm impressed with Larry's ride, but I think I'm kind of looking at guys like James Whalen, Nicolas Roche, Ilnur Zakarin, and maybe Roglic outside chance to take the stage today.
Absolutely. Hey, well, thanks for the insight. We appreciate everything that you offer. When we check in with you, we're definitely going to come back to you in the closing kilometers, just to get your insight, being a former professional, and then the pretty much the rider's leader, from your home. So we appreciate you taking the time, Pat.
Absolutely. Talk to you soon, Tom.
All right,
Bye-bye.
Thanks. All right, everyone, thank you for joining us for the Rally Cycling's broadcast of Stage 3 of the Digital Swiss 5. We are on the lower slopes of Nufenen Pass in the Swiss Alps. Once they get to the finish line, they will be at the top of the highest paved road in all of Switzerland. Nate Brown blasted out of the gates, leading the peloton, and has now settled in to 19th overall. This is great just to see that Nate is riding so strongly after his stage 1 mechanical that ended his stage just a few kilometers from the finish. Nate Brown is just behind the lead climber from NTT Pro Cycling, the South African Louis Menchis. We're going to take a look at where Gavin Mannion is currently on the climb. No doubt the riders took a switch from their felt FR disc road bikes, and AR disc road bikes, and they're riding the FRs. They're lighter, more climbing inclined bikes from our bike sponsor, Felt Bicycles. It's been really incredible, the partnership we've had with Felt in our second year. We spoke to some of the riders. Felt came in, extraordinary support, spoke to the riders just about their impressions, how they feel about their bikes. And while our riders are hitting the lower slopes of the highest paved road in Switzerland, let's go ahead and hear from them about what the Felt bicycles have meant to them over these last few seasons and the performance advantage that it has given them.
One thing that I love about my felt bike,
I really love my felt because
what I love about my felt is that it's small but fast, like me.
super fast, super stiff,
because it's fast.
Super aero and really fast.
Super fast, super fly, and super sexy. My felt bike is my weapon.
My felt bike is faster than me.
Oh, good stuff, good stuff. As you can see, the personalities we have on the team, we have so many incredibly talented but kind and thoughtful people. It's really built a positive culture, as you can see from everyone who either is sending selfies in or dropping comments in our chat. Current riders, past riders, staff members, family, friends, they're all here. Go ahead, keep the conversation going. We know all of our riders, especially the ones who are currently competing. They check back in the broadcast. They want to see their friends, their family, their teammates all interacting and cheering them on. We're going to go to the head of affairs right now. We have a new leader over the last few kilometers since we hit the base of this final Nufenen Pass climb. Irishman Nicolas Roche has taken over for Pierre Latour, who appears to have a mechanical and disappeared out the back of the peloton. U.S. road champion from just a couple years back, Larry Warbasse, same team as Latour, is riding strongly in second. I actually believe that the top result of Larry's career just a couple of years ago was actually winning a mountaintop stage at the Tour de Suisse out of the breakaway. So he's looking like he's in a really great position to duplicate that feat. 2014 world road champion Mikhail Kwiatkowski is just slowly but surely just fighting his way through the top 10, looking at Russian Ilnur Zakarin for that final podium position. We're going to drop back through the peloton. James Whelan from EF Pro Cycling finished on the podium on stage 1, riding really strong in the top 10. We're going to work our way through the top 20 riders here with Primoz Roglic last year's Vuelta a España winner from Team Jumbo-Visma, riding really strong. Team director Pat McCarty, who we were talking to earlier in the broadcast, predicted that Roglic is going to make up quite a bit of ground. We're going a little further back, and we see that Gavin Mannion, you got to hand it to Pat McCarty. He's one of the leaders for the riders. He said that he predicted that Gavin was just waiting for the climb. You know, it's his bread and butter. And despite riding at altitude, Gavin is really having an impressive ride, slowly riding through the peloton. And he had just overtaken rally cycling alum Ben King, who's a multi-time stage winner at the Vuelta a España. Yeah, so I'm looking at the comments right now. Russell Burt asked what happened to Latour. So believe it or not, the comment series did not disqualify him, but when a rider goes to 0 watts per kilogram or they just disappear from the footage, it nearly always means that there was either a connection issue or they had some sort of mechanical where they could no longer produce watts, which is what this whole system is based on. There's no drafting, it's just watts per kilogram. And then earlier I had seen a comment from, Chris Hobbs. Yeah, so it's high absolute watts are not taking like the height or overall weight into a rider. I don't specifically know the difference in the algorithm when they are riding on a dead flat road. Let's see. Hey there, Pat. Team director Pat McCarty is checking in right now. Let me go ahead and take a look. Hey, Pat, are you still with us?
Yeah, bud, gotcha. Hey, yeah, sorry, Tom. I know you got like 1,000 messages coming in here and there, just trying to get your attention.
Absolutely.
So I can update you on the Latour situation. So I didn't want to say anything at the beginning. I was a little suspicious of the watts per kilo that Latour was doing. And you never know, all this equipment, it's tough. Like you said, he was a last-minute sub-in. I think that was maybe one of the things that kind of clued me in.
Sure.
But hats off to the organization, actually, because they got in contact with the team. And while this is all happening and going on, they realized that the calibration of his trainer and his system actually maybe wasn't accurate. So they just pulled him immediately. This was done in full conversation with AG2R, the team, and the race organization. They made the decision quickly to pull Latour because they believed his system wasn't calibrated and his watts weren't reading correctly. So, it's one of those things that's kind of come up every day that we talk about. How accurate is this? How can we trust that everybody's putting in their weight correctly, that the watts are reading right, that there isn't any funny business going on? So I was actually very impressed with the race and Latour's team, AG2R, and everybody in full cooperation and full good sport to go ahead and just, without really knowing what happened, calibrating his trainer, no understanding that it maybe wasn't correct, they're just pulling him immediately off of the leaderboard and out of the race. So hands off to them, to his team in the race for just being open and honest about everything. I think it should give all of our viewers a better feeling about what they're actually watching right now and understanding that everybody is going into this with the best intentions and good sportsmanship. So I was happy to see that. Anyways, that's the update on Latour. Hope everybody's enjoying watching the coverage.
Oh, that's fantastic. Really appreciate it. It's so unique. Normally, it's this is such a different way of you and I communicating with each other during an event. So it's really something that they're able to do that on the fly and correct any issues that they're experiencing on the platform.
Yep. No, I was happy to see that. So.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks, Pat. We will go ahead and we'll hop back off, jump into the coverage, show a little video for all our fans at home, and we'll talk to you in the next few kilometers. So hello. For those who are just joining us, this is Rally Cycling's coverage of Stage 3 of the Digital Swiss 5. We just found out that all these connections that the riders have between their smart trainers and their computers and the Ruvi platform, we've heard it from all of our riders the last few days that one of the most challenging things is actually to calibrate your power meters to make sure that the watts are accurate. And our race leader from AG2R La Mondiale. Pierre Latour was riding at about 8-9 watts per kilogram, which is certainly something that the riders, all of the riders in the World Tour peloton can put out, but just for that extended period of time, they quickly discovered that his trainer was not properly calibrated, so they decided, his team decided to pull him from the race. So Nicolas Roche is now leading currently. It looks like he just had a little flat respite, no doubt, just taking a breather, dropped below 5 watts per kilogram just briefly. Rounding out the podium is on the road is former U.S. Pro Road Champion American Larry Warbasse for AG2R. This is, after all, a team sport, so although they may have lost their early leader, Warbasse is riding strong on a course that really helped his career, winning a stage out of a breakaway just a couple of years ago. So we're going to drop back through the peloton to see how the rally cycling riders are. Gavin Mannion, who is 15th on stage 1, riding out of Fort Collins, Colorado. He's just close to about 5280 mile high. Is really, really riding well. He's now into 17th place. He's just recently overtaken. He's 35 feet ahead of Vuelta a España defending champion Primoz Roglic from team Jumbo-Visma. Really impressive ride from Gavin Mannion. He rode this same climb last year at the Tour de Suisse as one of our lead GC riders. We're going up Nufenen Pass on the 33-kilometer stage. Nufenen Pass is the highest paved road in all of Switzerland. I know we all wish we could be there on location. This is a very popular destination, not only for the riders, but for the fans, the sponsors, the staff members. We all wish we could be there, so we're really looking forward to the 2021 season where we can return to these beautiful roads in Switzerland. Don't forget, our live chat is there. It's there the whole time. Don't be shy. Let us know what you think. Justin, thanks for joining us today. We're glad that you can join Rally Cycling's broadcast from the Digital Swiss 5. If there's anything else you want to see, there are features where we can bounce around the peloton. If you want to see more at the front, if you want to see more at the back, just let us know. We've got all our riders and staff members who are not competing today in the chat to support and cheer on their teammates. We're going to go back to the front of the race. We're going to go all the way back and finish with our third rider on the road, Ryan Anderson, who is in his first race back since a really bad leg break this past off-season. We started the broadcast with Randy, who's in North Vancouver. He's in the bottom of the screen, suffering away with his cycling cap on. Obviously, he'd rather keep the sweat out of his eyes, and he's not worried about keeping any extra heat in with his cap. The Irishman Nicolas Roche is leading the race with Russian Ilnur Zakarin in second, Larry Warbasse in third, former world champion and Milan-San Remo winner Mikhail Kwiatkowski from Team Ineos. We've got Chris Hamilton from Sunweb and Vingegaard from Jumbo-Visma. Podium finisher from Stage 1, James Whelan from EF Pro Cycling, former teammate of Nate Brown, who we're going to get to just shortly. We got Pernsteiner from Team Bahrain Merida, Matthias Frank, the second AG2R rider on the road. Also Swiss, he's on his home roads, likely in Switzerland right now. That's got to be pretty weird, riding virtually on the roads that are just outside of his door. And then so he's yo-yoing back and forth. And then the current Swiss road champion, Sylvain Dillier, is right in about 12th place, similar position. He's a Swiss rider based in Switzerland. We're going to drop back through the peloton a little bit. We're going to find our Colorado resident, Gavin Mannion, going strong. He's now in 16th place, overtaking Ryan Mullen from Czech Segafredo. Gavin is looking to improve on his 15th place on Stage 1 of the Tour de Suisse. He's looking really strong despite competing at altitude at his home base in Fort Collins, Colorado. Really excellent job. I see that we have John Murphy checking in, cheering on Randy. We can see Randy in the bottom corner, and he is suffering, just trying to keep the legs moving. Again, he's returning from a really nasty injury this past off-season, so it's really nice to see Ryan back on the bike, giving it everything he has. It looks like Gavin Mannion's now put 400 feet into the defending Tour of Spain winner, Primoz Roglic. It may be going backwards. Emmanuel Buchmann from Bora Hansgrohe has just passed him. We're going to drop back. Multi-time world mountain biking cross-country champion Nino Schurter sometimes throws his hat in the ring in these road events. Currently, an NTT rider just put his foot down. I don't know if he had a mechanical or enough's enough. Just needed to take a break. Hopefully that rider sorts it out. May have been our team alum from the Kelly Benefit Strategies days, Ben King. So hopefully he gets back on the road. Nate Brown out of Tennessee is looking really strong on the climb. Oh, unfortunately, it looks like Ben King had to put his foot down a few times. Hopefully he sorts that out. It looks like he may have lost his connection because he's at 0.2 watts per kilogram. So he's maybe having an issue with his Bluetooth connection. But Nate Brown, who's a former World Tour rider, formerly of the EF Pro Cycling team for rally cycling, is looking good in 23rd. He's really settling in. He's currently at 6 watts per kilogram behind multi-time Grand Tour stage winner Simon Yates from Mitchelton Scott and a GC contender Wilco Kelderman from Team Sunweb. And then Team Rally Cycling alum Sepp Kuss is moving his way into the peloton, no doubt taking a straight line for Nate Brown, who rides for his old team. There's always a friendly rivalry with our riders who move on, but it's great to see Sepp having such a strong ride. Let's drop back through the field so you can take a look. I'll scroll through this slowly. Sometimes it's better to have this full screen so you can see all of your favorite riders, of course, starting with the rally cycling riders in Nate, Randy, and Gavin. Let's see. John Murphy mentioned Pinner. An old teammate of John Murphy, Andrew Pinfold, a Canadian who knows Ryan Anderson very well. Fantastic to see him doing this. And then a longtime team director, former Olympian for Team Canada. He's our current women's team director, Zach Bell, in the chat, joining with his family. Absolutely great to see you today, Zach. We have some exciting news that we hope to be coming out over the next week or so with our women's team competing in an online, our virtual series that we're really excited about. We're back with Gavin Mannion, who's now in 13th. He's overtaken Badalati from the Israeli Cycling Academy, really eyeing that top 10 spot. It looks like that's currently occupied by Matthias Frank, the Swiss rider on AG2R. They're both hovering around the 5.7, 6.2 watts per kilogram. So for Gavin Mannion, he's approaching. He's probably about above 350 watts for a slim climber. That's quite a lot of watts that he's been maintaining. We're currently 52 minutes into the broadcast. The Digital Swiss 5 is 5 days of virtual racing. This is the second mountain stage out of the first 3 stages. They've allotted for approximately an hour for each stage, but as we see this climb and the automatic resistance that the smart trainers are setting based on the real-life road gradient is really taking its toll on the riders. But Gavin Mannion's done an excellent job as the rally cycling leader on the road, already improving on his stage 1 performance of 15th place, moving into 13th. Really, really great for him to put out this performance twice in only 3 days. It's good to see Gavin, despite training and racing today from altitude in Fort Collins, Colorado, to really move up in the standings against some of the best climbers in the world. Again, we have the Vuelta a España defending champion. I think Roglic either won or was second in the overall UCI standings or the World Tour standings last year. He had an incredible ride. Banner year for him. Multi-time mountain bike cross-country world champion Nino Schurter is currently not too far behind, maybe 7/100ths of a mile behind Primoz Roglic right there. Sepp Kuss, formerly of the rally cycling, has settled in nicely, won a stage of the Vuelta a España last year. Really great to see him performing so well. And then Nate Brown is our second rider on the road out of our 3 riders, currently in 25th behind Catania from Doikene Quick Step and Simon Yates in 23rd, one of the leaders from the Mitchelton Scott team. If you're just joining our broadcast, this is Rally Cycling's coverage of Stage 3 of the Digital Swiss 5 We started this whole thing off with Ryan Anderson from his home in northern Vancouver, British Columbia. Ryan is first joined the team in 2009. He went to race in Europe for a few years, came back, went back to Europe, raced the Vuelta a España, raced Paris-Roubaix, and now we're so happy to have him back in the team. And this is his first race back since breaking his leg this past offseason. So it's really great to see Randy. He's had to dig deep, die 1,000 deaths to keep those pedals turning. But we love Randy. He's really doing a great job and making us proud, and appreciate him being available for such an important event for the team. Let's go ahead and take a look at our comments. Russell Burt, I recognized you from social media. Awesome to have you joining us. I see that Brad Huff has been active. Brad's actually a former teammate of mine. I was actually a former teammate of Randy's. Raced against most of these guys. That was years ago. I'm not at all envious of how hard they have to pedal bikes and ordinarily travel around the world eating different foods and being forced to race no matter how you feel. Hats off to these guys. So much respect for the effort and the dedication that it takes to perform at this level. We saw yesterday from Matteo Dalcin and Stephen Bassett, under 23 road champion for Canada, Nicholas Zukowski, all in the top 15 against the best riders in the world. It's truly inspirational, even if you're not a bike racer. Just seeing the level of commitment, and all of these riders, both our men on this coverage and our women, hopefully for our coverage at the beginning of May on another platform, of just what you can do when you're just focused and disciplined, you set a goal, and that you can achieve it. Currently, our leader on the road is Irishman Nicolas Roche. He's a new leader since we hit the bottom of the climb. Currently riding between 5 and 6 watts per kilogram. This has been a really grueling mountain stage. As you can see, we're going up Nufenen Pass, the highest paved road in all of Switzerland. And actually, we got a special guest in our chat, Anthony Lutenegger. He is the gentleman who brought us beautiful photos from the Tour de Suisse in 2019. It's a real shame, Anthony, that we're not going to be seeing you again this year, but we hope to see you in 2021. Thank you so much for joining us in the broadcast today. I think, Anthony, you've asked about what Ryan Anderson or Randy would think of Nufenen Pass in real life versus virtual. Well, by looking at Randy's screen in the bottom corner, I think he would tell you that they're both just awful. It's really hard to go uphill in a professional bike race easy. And in a virtual platform, you can't stop pedaling. You have to go until the wheels come off, like we saw with Nate Brown on stage 1, or until you cross that finish line. So thank you so much for joining us. Anyone else who has any comments or questions, likes, shares, shout outs, hit us up in the comments section. We're going to drop back through the peloton. Nicolas Roche is still leading this race. You can see the profile at the bottom, but I'm going to go ahead and show you the map view real quick, the overhead aerial view, that these riders are scattered all alongside the mountain here, stretched out actually over a few kilometers. And so it's a really cool view that we have. Thank you to everyone at Ruby for making this broadcast available. This is really fun, something for us all to come together on and enjoy and focus on, is these athletes and their personal physical achievements and how they've been able to stay focused and stay motivated during such tough times where they're spending more time at home, fewer trips to the grocery store, they're not seeing their friends and loved ones as much in person. But this virtual platform, all increased phone calls and video chats from our Healthy Habits challenge just a couple weeks back with Kyle Murphy titled Stay in Touch, where we just encourage you to reach out to people that you know that you're close to, whether they're young or old or retired or working full-time with kids in the house. It doesn't matter. That just reaching out, you never know how much of an impact that can have on someone. And at the very least, it's just great to continue to have those physical connections, those personal connections, although we're physically apart, practicing social distancing. So we're going to, again, Nicolas Roche, the Irishman from Team Sunweb, is currently leading the race. Russian Ilnur Zakarin from Team CCC is currently in second. And former U.S. Pro Road Champion Larry Warbasse is currently in third on the very Swiss roads that nearly defined his career when he won a stage out of the breakaway just a couple years ago. Former world champion Mikhail Kwiatkowski from Team Ineos is currently in fourth, maintaining about a 330-foot gap to the American Warbasse. Chris Hamilton, I believe Aussie climber for Team Sunweb, strongly in 5th. We got the Team Bahrain Merida, Pernsteiner, I believe formerly of the Bora Hansgrohe team. Podium finisher from Stage 1, James Whelan from EF Pro Cycling, currently in 7th. We're going to drop back through Louis Menties from the South African from NTT Pro Cycling in 9th, and rounding out top 10 is from Total Direct Energy, actually a former team that Ryan Anderson was on for a couple of years. He actually raced the Volta a España, although they were black and yellow those days, and now their title sponsor has changed to now Total. Gavin Mannion, Pat McCarty, he predicted this early in the broadcast, in the middle of the broadcast, that Gavin was just waiting, biding his time until the slopes really picked up and suited him. Gavin Mannion, for those of you who don't know, 15th on Stage 1, currently competing from altitude, already at a deficit. This is a world-class performance from Gavin. He's also a former U.S. Pro Challenge or Colorado Classic champion from just a couple years ago. Really, really impressive performance by Gavin. He excels at altitude. I can't imagine what this guy would do if he was currently at sea level or maybe at the U.S. Olympic Training Center, in their sea level room. But this is really impressive by Gavin. No excuses for this guy. It looks like he maybe had a little wobble there, but saved it successfully. Thank you, Gavin. Let's drop back through the peloton. We've got 2 other riders out here. We've got Nate Brown, who blasted out of the gates. Let's see where Nate is settling in. Nate is currently in 39th, still going. He had an unfortunate mechanical on Stage 1, just a few kilometers from the stage, which was really unfortunate to see. But we're glad that Nate Brown is really digging deep, riding well, holding it together on this Nufenen Pass on Stage 3 of the Digital Swiss 5. We're going to drop back through the peloton. Roman Krusinger, longtime professional, in 44th place. We're going to drop back a little. Bob Jungels actually won the 2018 Liège-Bastogne-Liège ahead of our former rider Michael Woods, who happened to, if you saw that coverage, they crested one of the final climbs and Woods just let the wheel go, and Jungels, multi-time Luxembourg time trial and road race champion, saw the gap, ran with it, and took one, I believe maybe it was his first or second cycling classic or monument. So you can just see the level of competition from this World Tour peloton, that a rider like Bob Jungels is currently in 47th ahead of Dan Martin, a Grand Tour contender who's currently in 49th. So we have not had, they're rescheduling the UCI racing season. It's looking like racing could return in August. We have no idea, but when it comes to motivation, goal setting, a lot of riders just feel lost right now. What are they getting ready for? And I think that's one of the really valuable parts of what the Tour de Suisse, Villan, Ruvi have done, other teams and events over on the Zwift platform, is giving riders, fans, partners something to look forward to in the meantime until we get back into the world and are able to travel and interact closely in a peloton. But in the meantime, we're able to meet online. We see everyone tuning in. Thank you so much for joining us, all of your comments. It's really great. The riders are watching who aren't in today's roster. The people who are racing right now are going to see this coverage later, so we appreciate everything you're putting out there for us. Our performance director, Jonas Carney, has been with us since 2007. He's in the chat right now. We're going to go to his comment right now. Jonas mentions last year that this was the final stage of the Tour de Suisse and that he'll never forget transferring in the team bus in the reverse direction. But our team director, Jose Souza, was driving and stayed calm and got us out there safely. So when you're in these larger vehicles coming down mountain passes, you're worried about those brakes giving out. But Jose Souza, you may have seen him in a live Q&A with our clothing partner, Pactimo, just the other week. It's just an ultimate professional, cool head, former professional himself, really got the team through that. So let's go ahead and check in with Ryan Anderson, see how he's doing. It's been a really tough day in his first race back since breaking his leg. It's really great to see that he's still soldiering on the road here. Randy, we all love him. He's doing great. We started the broadcast with him. He's just down here. Randy, thank you so much. We hope to catch up with you at the end of the coverage. No doubt you are wheeling your teammates on further up the road. Gavin Mannion, we're just receiving word from team director Pat McCarty that he is predicting Gavin will ride well into the top 10 by the end of this stage. We're going to take a look at the comments. Oh, thank you everyone for jumping in. This is great. No doubt Rob Britton, former overall champion from the Larry H. Miller Tour of Utah, and our top finisher, I believe, on this stage. I believe maybe 11th place. Correct me if I'm wrong, Rob. On this stage last year, really incredible performance by some of the best cyclists in the world as they were preparing for the Tour de France. Pardon our picture breakup right here. Just platform, various video screens and software. You know, we're learning this as we go. The times are changing. We're adapting the best we can. We appreciate all of you for tuning in and joining us for stage 3 of the Digital Swiss 5. So for the cycling geeks, I'm one of them. You're probably one of them. Let's go ahead and see what's happening at the head of the race. Who are our riders going up against? Who is Gavin Mannion currently chasing down? He's having an incredible ride despite being at altitude. So Nicolas Roche, you can see at the bottom of the screen, there is a profile. They are charging. They're really close to the finish. Roche is leading, Zakarin second. Larry Warbasse is currently in third. Former world champion Kwiatkowski currently in fourth. James Whelan, podium finisher for EF Pro Cycling from stage 1, is looking strong in 6th place. NTT climber Louis Menchis is currently riding really well in 8th. But Gavin Mannion, you can't sleep on this guy. Team director Pat McCarty told you to look out for him. He's now currently in 10th, chasing down Rain Terame, I believe the Estonian. It's going from 40 feet back to 33 feet back. We're going to keep the camera here. We're going to root Gavin on. We're going to wheel him on to overtake the Estonian from Team Total Direct Energy. Awesome job. Emerson, what's up? Say hi to your wife for me. Emerson, earlier in the broadcast, you saw led this week's Healthy Habits Challenge theme entitled Fill the Well. It's all about encouraging people to rediscover the joy. It's not just about having a checklist, but what is that thing that you've always said, I wish I just had more time for that? And so Emerson's been a great leader for us as far as finding more time to read or spend time with his wife or gardening outside, or in the video you saw, playing poker, or drawing. It doesn't matter what that thing is that brings joy for you, but just it's important to rediscover that and refocus on it so that you can fill your well and be a stronger, better person in every other aspect of your life. If you want to see those videos, go to our social media, go to our website, go to YouTube. It doesn't matter. It's everywhere. Follow the hashtag Healthy Habits with Poito. You can learn more. Before we get to the finish today, we're going to check back in with team director Pat McCarty over Race Radio just to see what's developing on the road. Hey there, Pat.
Hey, how you doing, Tom?
Excellent, man. So you've been predicting, you're helping us out in chat with performance director Jonas Carney, a number of our riders and our partners. Gavin Mannion, 10th place, staying strong. I haven't seen this guy drop below 5.5 watts per kilogram. Geez, it feels like this entire race.
Yeah, Gavin's doing a really good job. Well, he's a smart kid. He understands what it kind of means to have to do an effort like this at altitude. Obviously, you're starting with less watts at 5,000 feet than you are at sea level, but the real danger is when you're spending time above threshold. You just don't recover the same at altitude, and spending more at the beginning will just cost you more at the end compared to somebody at sea level. So I was not surprised to see Gavin had a very modest start, unlike Nate Brown, who just shot out of the gates. That was pretty awesome.
Well, I think we may have lost Nate from our team chat too. He may have left the group there.
Yeah, he who knows? It's the volume's too loud. He just didn't like all the chatter he was hearing. But
sure.
Anyways, Gavin, not really surprised that he's moving up through the ranks right now. I think he'll take 9th on the stage. We'll see, maybe, give or take, but he's 10th right now. Great effort. Really, really happy to see that. I think he's, like I said, was smart not to go too hard out of the blocks and really just save his altitude watts that he has for this climb here.
Yeah, and you actually even mentioned it looked like Nate Brown may have temporarily left the team voice chat, but all the chatter. So, Pat, you were a longtime professional. You spent a lot of time in the World Tour doing some of the biggest races in the world before you became a director. Can you remember situations where you're like, this is too much, and you just popped your radio out where you just needed to focus on the task at hand?
Yeah, for sure. I was a pretty grumpy rider myself when I had to get the heart rate up and kind of be in that zone, the pain cave they call it. I wasn't always the nicest person to be around, so I totally get it. The guys popped the earpiece out. Like I said, Nate hit mute on the team chat, so I totally understand. But I'm sure Nate will pick back up once the race is over. We can have a quick chat.
Awesome.
No worries there.
No, not at all. There are no hard feelings at all. It's just the reality of what these athletes are doing. You know, maybe on the virtual platform they're not under as much like immense pressure as they are when they're actually on the physical roads, but they still take this quite seriously. And we all need something different when it comes to being focused. We're currently on the screen following race leader Nicolas Roche. Some of you may remember that he was in the leader's jersey for a couple of days of the Volta a España last year. The Irishman for Team Sunweb is looking really strong. He's about 0.2 of a mile ahead of Russian Ilnur Zakarin, another Grand Tour contender who's in second place. We're going to stay with Nicolas Roche to catch the finish here because he's just cresting the top of the highest paved road in all of Switzerland, the Nufenen Pass. Pat, can you see how far we are from the distance? I just see the little the profile at the bottom of the screen where he is.
Yeah, let me hit the map view. Sorry, I don't have that stat right.
No, it's all good.
My fingertips can't find it. Sorry. Yeah. It actually, that's one thing that is missing, I think, from this. No, they're at 30. Gavin is at 32.2 of 33.5 kilometers is what I'm seeing.
Okay, so Gavin's not too close from passing the Lanterne Rouge in the final kilometer. It looks like Nicolas Roche has hit a flatter section of the course. He's in the barriers, the final 200 meters of stage 3 of the Digital Swiss 5. The Irishman is coming in for easily Sunweb's top finish 3 stages into the Digital Swiss 5. Let's see if he's going to post up and celebrate his stage victory. Absolutely. The hands back on the bars for the immediate descent following the finish. Pat, thank you so much for checking in with us. I'm going to drop back with Gavin Mannion, find out where he is in the peloton. You had predicted that Gavin may close the gap to Rain Terame, currently in 10th place. But Pat, again, as always, thank you so much for joining us during our broadcast. And we'll catch up with you tomorrow morning ahead of stage 4 of the Digital Swiss 5.
Sounds good. Thanks, Tom.
All right, Pat. For those of you who are just joining us, this is the closing kilometer for team leader Gavin Mannion on stage 3 of the Digital Swiss 5. He has made huge improvements despite competing at altitude on this Ruby virtual platform. Gavin's currently maintaining 6 watts per kilogram. He is eyeing a top 10 in the overall standings. Really impressive ride by the Colorado resident. He currently has only 98 feet of a gap to Madois just behind him, who is slowly closing that gap. We're hoping that Gavin can really dig deep inside the final kilometer, stage 3 of the Digital Swiss 5 to maintain the extremely impressive top 10 result. That'll be 5 places better. Oh, Gavin almost went off the road there. Good thing that Gavin, for a climber, is an extremely strong and talented bike handler. So he saved that very well. Gavin Mannion raced up the highest road in all of Switzerland last year at the 2019 Tour de Suisse. He is obviously taking that experience and putting it to good use on stage 3 of the Digital Swiss 5. So Gavin Mannion is currently 10th on the road. We're closing in. You can see the profile at the bottom. We can also drop in before he hits the final barriers. This is where Gavin Mannion is on the top left of your screen. That is the finish line. Nicolas Roche from Team Sunweb is to the stage 3 victor. Gavin Mannion is trying to claw his way back to 9th place. But just as importantly, he's super motivated to keep the rider who's less than 100 feet behind him. Oh, no, Madois looks like he has cracked a little bit. He's now 165 feet behind Gavin Mannion. This is looking really good for Mannion to get his top 10 overall placing. That would actually, I believe, improve on his teammate Rob Britton's performance in this actual stage, which was the final stage last year, where Rob Britton finished 11th on the Queen and final stage of the 2019 Tour de Suisse. Gavin Mannion just spent a little time out of the saddle, pushing the watts. He's really chasing this top 10 result for the team. Incredible result. There are 15 World Tour teams represented, each with 3 riders. So Gavin Mannion is really beating some of the best riders in the world. We know he's going to be really pleased with this result. Pat McCarty predicted that he was going to ride himself into the top 10. Gavin, chapeau, hats off to you. Awesome ride for a top 10 on stage 3 of the Digital Swiss 5. Really impressive ride by Gavin, finishing in 10th behind stage winner Nicolas Roche from Team Sunweb. We're going to drop back to where rally cycling alum Sepp Kuss from Team Jumbo-Visma is on the road looking at a top 20 finish. Awesome job, Sepp. We're going to look further in the standings. Multi-time world cross-country mountain bike champion Nino Schurter, riding for the Swiss national team, is currently in 26th. Ben King, alum of the team. Hey, there are a lot of riders out there who came through our program. We love them, really proud of them. Ben won 2 stages of the Volta a España, currently in 37th place, former American champion. And Nate Brown from Tennessee. He's currently living in Knoxville right now, settling in at 3 watts per kilogram. He's just pedaling it in right now, having acted as a great lead out, great carrot for team leader Gavin Mannion on the stage. Nate had a stage-ending mechanical on stage 1. I know he was really frustrated by that, and he turned it into motivation and really blasted out of the gates here on stage 3 of the Digital Swiss 5 race. Russell, thank you so much for cheering us on. I know that the riders, the entire team appreciates it. Gavin's going to, no doubt, watch this broadcast and share it with any of the friends and family that didn't tune in, so we appreciate you joining us today for stage 3 of the Digital Swiss 5 races. So we're going to go ahead and see where Nate is on the mountain. So I think he's about to cross under the 1 kilometer to go banner. Nate Brown, awesome job, especially earlier on in this stage, and he's keeping the power down. Finishing this now well over 1 hour effort. The race predicted maybe about an hour, but the winner came in at about 1 hour and 7 minutes. We're now 5 minutes past the first rider, Nicolas Roche, crossing the finish line. And then earlier in the broadcast, we were with our good friend, Ryan Anderson. He's joining us from Northern Vancouver. Ryan has been doing a slow, steady build for the last few months. We're really proud of him after having a really nasty leg break this offseason. This is Ryan's first race back. He's still going strong from his home in North Vancouver, British Columbia. Ryan, awesome job. We're hoping to catch up with Ryan following the stage. We may lose our broadcast by the time Ryan finishes, but we're going to hang out and see what we can do here. If you're just joining us for our broadcast, thank you for joining us. This entire broadcast is going to be available for rewind, replay, just shortly after we conclude our coverage. But if you're just joining us, Nicolas Roche from Sunweb took out the win. You can see the leaderboard right here. And the one we want you to look at is Gavin Mannion. Awesome job. He got 10th overall today, improving on his 15th place from stage 1 of the Digital Swiss 5. Awesome job, Gavin. And then our recap from stage 2 was actually Matteo Dalsin, former Canadian road champion. Yesterday finished an incredible 5th, averaging almost 440 watts for nearly an hour. And his teammate from Tennessee, just like Nate Brown, Stephen Bassett, coming in for a strong 6th place. We're going to find Nate Brown on the slopes, one of our team leaders, formerly of the EF Pro Cycling team, with a wealth of World Tour knowledge. Let's take a look at Nate Brown. It looks like he's about, he's 1.4 miles from the finish. Tom Mannion, Gavin's dad, thank you so much for joining us. Gavin crushed it. You were cheering him on stage 1 when he sprinted up the barriers for 15th place. And Gavin did you 5 better today. Good on Gavin. Nate Brown he's riding his way to the finish. This is professional bike racing, folks. He put his effort out. He was that carrot. He motivated Gavin Mannion into his top 10. And now Nate Brown's just settling in, getting to the finish line right now, enjoying the views. No doubt there. Here comes the RV that's out on course, fortunately passing our riders safely. Again, if you're joining us, we're on Nufenen Pass. This is the highest paved road in all of Switzerland. The team competed on this during the Queen stage of the 2019 Tour de Suisse. And so this has really been an impressive ride by the team for the 3rd day running. Gavin 15th on stage 1, Matteo and Stephen Bassett 5th, 6th. Zukowski, Canadian U23 road champ, was 14th or 15th on stage 2, I think 14th. And then today, Gavin Mannion again impressing the former Colorado Classic champion, competing from home at altitude, finishing in 10th place, Rally Cycling's top finisher for the stage. So we really appreciate everyone joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. From me, everyone at Rally Cycling, Ryan Anderson, who's died 1,000 deaths, thank you so much for supporting us, supporting the riders. These guys, truly, they inspire you, they inspire me. It's really incredible what they've been able to do despite these difficult situations, in circumstances of where we're all at home. And although we can't see each other in person, this virtual platform really allows us to connect and stay in touch. And it's been really valuable as we've had to adapt to these new times. So Ryan Anderson, you've been awesome. Everyone at home who's liked, shared, commented on this coverage is going to see it later. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to see you the same time, 10:05 a.m. tomorrow, Central Standard Time, for stage 3 of the Digital Swiss 5. Ryan, you're my hero. You're awesome. We're about to lose our broadcast here, so I'm going to let you go. But again, I'm Tom Soladay signing off for Rally Cycling. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow for stage 4 of the Digital Swiss 5. Take care.